Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to another episode of The Standard is the Standard. My name's Jeff Hartman, editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. It's been a rough week for Steelers fans, and I don't say that because it was the Christmas week or the holiday season, whatever you personally believe in. It's because of James Harrison. And with me, as always, my co-host Lance Williams. There he is. Hey, I want to know what you think about James Harrison, Lance. Let's get this thing started off right.
If you see what I'm doing, if you're watching the show, you just got to get that dirt off your shoulders. Just got to get that dirt off. Throw some salt over our back. Just get that bad spirit away from us, and just get it out. Just get it away from us. But I'll say this, and I'm going to give Jeff the floor because Jeff is extremely passionate about it. In full disclosure, I mean, I think all of us as professionals, we've been in some very challenging situations where promises have been made to us that didn't come to fruition, be it a variety of circumstances, be it raises, be it promotions, be it whatever. And sometimes they don't happen. You still have a responsibility as a professional to handle that in a certain way. Now, if what the players were saying is true, snoring in meetings, not showing up to practices, leaving the field when inactivated, snoring in meetings, I might have said that twice, because that's just bad. I mean, that's just bad. Not wanting to see Ryan Shazier with the rest of the linebacker core. That's just unprofessional. I mean, the organization has no obligation to play you. If they said that they would, they should, but they don't have to, because their job is to do what's best for the football team. And that might be not playing you. And it's just, how do you handle it as a professional when your personal goals don't align with the organization's goals? Clearly, there's a lack of communication here on both sides, but it is within the right of the club to waive the player. And I think what Marcus Pouncey said is probably true. The Steelers don't want to be in the business of waiving James Harrison. I mean, he's the all-time sack that is known for treating its legends the right way. They don't want to start not doing that. And I think that if everything that the guys are saying is true, they probably did, meaning the Steelers, everything they could to keep the player. This is just a bad look on him, bad look on his legacy. And this is something that's not going to be forgotten anytime soon by the organization or the fan base. And it just hurts even more because he went to the Patriots. Now, Jeff, the floor is yours. Get busy.
Well, I'm going to put it real simple. The guy's dead to me. I mean, let's be honest. He is straight up dead to me. And I'm only saying what a lot of fans are thinking. And I'm a fan just like you are, just like everyone listening to this show is. He's dead to me. And it's not because he went to the Patriots. That just is like twisting the knife a little bit. But it was the whole Debo persona, the silverback persona, the James Harrison that we all thought was model citizen. Well, maybe not model citizen. He did have that run-in with the law at one time. Anyways, good teammate, takes care of himself, super impressive from a physique and from a playing standpoint, having those unbelievable moments like the Super Bowl 43 interception return for a touchdown. I don't think anyone in their wildest dreams ever would have thought that this would have been said about James Harrison. Here's why I'm buying into everything that the players are selling, except for the Ryan Shazier comment. Jerry Dulac, who actually spoke to James Harrison, said that he did, in fact, go see Ryan Shazier. So with that, I'm not buying that side of this. Everything else, I'm buying it 100%. You know why? People were saying that the players were, I heard a reporter say that it almost seems like the players were, not, it's like a bully in your schoolyard and you're waiting until he leaves and then you start talking about him. I don't think that at all. This has been building up with these guys for 17 weeks, essentially. And then the guy finally leaves. There's a report that he asked to be dismissed after week 1, Lance. Week 1. He didn't play much against the Browns in the very first week, and he says, you know what, get rid of me, cut me. Are you serious? After 1 week? I don't like that at all. This has been building up, and it just boiled over. And the Steelers had enough. Now today, Thursday, when this show is being recorded, they were quiet. Everyone said, I'm not talking about James Harrison. We're talking about the Browns postseason. We can talk about awards. Like I know Le'Veon Bell said we can talk about Antonio Brown getting team MVP, but I'm not talking about James Harrison. A lot of players did that already, but Bud Dupree said what he said. He was very, I mean, my gosh, if you listen to that interview on 93.7 The Fan in Pittsburgh, he lambasted him.
Yeah,
and
he did.
it's going to be interesting to see. James Harrison is supposed to talk to the Boston media for the first time on Friday. It's going to be really interesting to hear what he has to say about what's being said about him, about his departure from Pittsburgh. But from a fan's perspective, you do this and you turn out to be everything that the opposite of everything we thought you were. And then you go to the New England Patriots and your agent comes out and says he wanted to win a ring before he calls it quits. Come on, man. You are on a team that was a horrible call away from beating that team in week 15, and you think that you have a better chance. You know what? I'm still getting fired up just thinking about this. I feel like I've been hoodwinked. I feel like the fan base has been hoodwinked, and I really, really hope that James Harrison does not get a ring with the New England Patriots. Honestly, I don't care if it's Pittsburgh or not. Sure, I hope the Steelers win the Super Bowl, but I hope they're one and done. I hope that they lose to the Kansas City Chiefs or someone like that or the Baltimore Ravens, and they don't even have a chance to play Pittsburgh. And I hope he's sitting on his freaking couch watching Ben Roethlisberger and company go to Super Bowl 52 in Minneapolis, playing whatever NFC team is coming out of that conference. And I hope he has to watch it. I hope he has to sit there and think, man, did I F this thing up? Because that's how I feel, and I think that's how a lot of fans feel right now.
Here's the thing, Jeff, and I'm glad you said it, is as fans on the outside, we have to be very careful of the narratives that are being spun by team, by players, and or by the media. And we just have to appreciate the fact that we're on the outside, and a lot of the stuff that we see and we consume, we have to take with a grain of salt, because clearly there was a narrative being spun about him this entire year. And it turns out, given his behavior, that he's a selfish guy. Clearly a selfish guy. Now, you don't have to mentor the guy behind you, but and that's fine. That's your choice. But you should show up and be respectful to the organization that is paying you. I mean, you have an obligation there, and no matter what he says today, or no matter what you consume, the behavior is inexcusable. Being in a meeting, snoring, that's inexcusable. That's the highest level of disrespect. And because the organization wanted to keep him and wanted to continue to push this narrative, they decided to keep him. So let me just say this to you, Jeff. Will you ever state his name again, just like I won't state that other guy's name who left and got a ring?
Well, I know who you're talking about. It all depends on how it plays out. We'll just put it that way. It all depends on how it plays out. If he does win a ring, no, I'll never say that guy's name on the show again.
Yeah, that other guy, never.
Exactly. Now, let me ask you. Now, Lance, you brought up how selfish, right? I'm going to go a step further. I know, Lance, you had foot surgery recently because we're friends. We talk off the air all the time. But you exercised prior to the injury. Did you ever take video of yourself and post it on social media or anything like that?
No, I did not.
No. Some people do it for educational purposes. I have personally on my own personal Instagram. I know Lance knows that. A lot of that stuff, if you watch certain social media platforms and you look at what he's doing, there's an ego there. There's a massive ego there. And that comes with the territory of being a superstar in the NFL. I get that. But if people look at it and oh my gosh, look how much he's lifting. Yeah, that's impressive. Damn right it's impressive. But at the same time, it's someone that wants the attention. He wants the attention of the fans. He wants the attention. He wants his name on ESPN. And he wasn't getting it in Pittsburgh. They weren't playing him. Right. And why weren't they playing him? We're going to talk about this in a second. He's not fast enough to cover anybody. So because of that, He wasn't getting on the field. And because he wasn't getting on the field, he wasn't getting that attention. He was getting frustrated. I get that. There's a way to handle your business. Like you said, the Steelers were protecting him in a lot of ways. And someone wrote this on social media. I wish I knew who. I think it might have been Tim Benz of the Tribune Review. And that was, what do you think was the straw that broke the camel's back? Because if they were putting up with this stuff all year, what had to happen for them to finally say, you know what? We're heading into week 16. See ya. Bye. Good luck. I don't know. I don't know what would have happened, but it had to be bad. Had to be bad.
Yeah, it would have been interesting because I would imagine they may have want to avoid deactivating him during the playoffs and the firestorm that may have caused and the questions they would have had to answer had they deactivated him during the playoffs. Because he had already come out and said, had I known I wasn't going to play, I wouldn't have come here. I mean, if that doesn't get you deactivated at that point, then, nothing is save for, whatever disrespectful thing he was going to do. I couldn't believe the rumor that he drove home when he got deactivated in Cincinnati.
Yeah, rental car.
In a rental car. I mean,
can we try to find the Hertz or Rent-A-Center that he used and see if we can find a signature somewhere?
I mean,
do you think he used his name like James Harrison, or do
he used Debo?
Debo or Silverback, and that's how he signed off. Well,
Silverback Debo. But to your point, and this will be a good segue. The one thing you didn't see in those Instagram videos, you saw him lifting barbells, but you didn't see him lifting his feet. And you didn't see him lifting his feet fast. No. And what that says is he can't run. He's a situational pass rusher. And when you play this much nickel, if you play 65% of your snaps in nickel, and that's the number that I'm throwing out there, he's going to get torn to shreds in coverage. I mean, period. The one big play that he made this year was huge against Kansas City to beat Eric Fisher for the sack. And that might be why New England is getting him, because they figure they might play Kansas City before they do the Steelers. They might get that favorable matchup. But I think what happened was TJ Watt was better than they expected, and they needed to hedge their bet in case that he wasn't. So they kept him around. And that was it. I mean, it's how this works. But from a football perspective, I don't think they're going to lose much with the departure of James Harrison. I mean, he did not play. He played 40 snaps, and they're 12-3.
Yeah. Well, let me go a step further. Think about when Dupree would be spelled or TJ Watt would be spelled. It wasn't Harrison. It was Anthony Chickillo. Why? Like you said, Anthony Chickillo can actually cover. He's not. He has totally transformed his body. He's able to run with receivers or running backs out of the flat, whatever the case may be. The thing about James Harrison is, I don't understand where people think that he's going to go up to New England and tell them all these fancy secrets. Are you serious? You're going to have 17 weeks of game film on a team that's going to be way more telling than anything James Harrison is going to go into the meeting room and say, oh, well, Ben Roethlisberger likes to do this hand sign when he wants this. Well, don't you think that Roethlisberger is going to change the hand sign? I mean, come on. This is not high school athletics here. This is the National Football League. And unless the Patriots are not filming the practices, which we know they have a tendency to do from time to time, I think they would be fine. And if I'm Todd Haley, and if I'm Ben Roethlisberger, and if I'm Le'Veon Bell, I'm praying if they play the Patriots that James Harrison's on the field. I'm like, please put 92 on the field, because I want to single him in coverage every single time.
They're going to rip him to shreds. They're going to rip him to shreds.
Oh my gosh. Le'Veon Bell makes cornerbacks look bad, let alone a 39-year-old that can't run. I mean, you remember the play, I want to say it was in 2014. They played the Texans. This could have been a couple of plays. I think about what he did to Luke Kuechly from Carolina, Le'Veon Bell did, and I think about what he did to Brian Cushing in Houston. Both more athletic and faster than James Harrison, and he made them look absolutely foolish. Throw in the fact that I think Alejandro Villanueva does much better against strong pass rushers rather than speed. He struggles with guys like Von Miller. He's not. He handled Jadeveon Clowney rather easily in last week's game. I think that I don't think James Harrison, in my opinion, poses any threat to the Steelers' offense from a defensive perspective. Do you agree?
I agree. Excuse me. I mean, it's been a little mixed in terms of the schematic or type of information. I've heard some players say it's big. A lot of players have said that it isn't. So I think it's negligible, in my opinion. I don't think the Steelers are in the habit of trying to do anything that's going to lessen their chance to win a championship. Now it may, because you may not know, all the moves that you do, the impact when you make them. You just hope they play in the right favor for you. But the funny thing that Bud Dupree said when he was asked about that question was said, well, he didn't come to meetings. You know, I, I don't know what he could tell. He wasn't in meetings. So, I mean, this is just a sad demise to a guy that was held, in Steeler lore. And, he will always be remembered for, quite possibly the greatest play, the greatest defensive play, no doubt, in Steeler football history in Super Bowl. What is that, 43, when they beat the Arizona Cardinals? I mean, we will have to choose as fans, and I'm sure it will happen over the course of time, depending on how this plays out. This bad taste has left in the fan base's mouth and the organizations over the course of right now. It's bad, it stings, but there's bigger fish to fry, and the playoffs are coming. The Steelers were able to secure a first-round bye, which is necessary. AB needs the rest. Some of the big names, the killer bees, need the rest. And if you're Mike Tomlin going into Sunday's game, how do you play it? Do you scoreboard watch? Do you play the guys the four quarters to try to keep them sharp? How are you going to handle it?
Yeah, it's a good segue to getting away from Harrison and focusing on the game coming up. I personally believe that Landry Jones and Stephen Ridley and Fitzgerald Toussaint are good enough to beat the Cleveland Browns. I honestly am. So, although I will be keeping an eye on the scoreboard, I'm hedging my bet that the Patriots are not going to lose because I don't think they're going to rest their guys. So I'm hedging my bet that they're not going to lose. And the last thing I need, if you remember back in 2008, almost same situation, circumstance, almost a meaningless game, and Ben Roethlisberger gets taken off the field on the stretcher after he gets concussed when Willie McGinnis, there it is, got it. Willie McGinnis and DeQuell Jackson, man, they slammed his head down on the turf, and that was when he got taken off on a stretcher. And then all of a sudden, people are thinking, man, this is a meaningless game. There's no need to play Le'Veon Bell. The rushing title shouldn't matter. Think back what he said to Willie Parker when Willie Parker was complaining about not running the ball. I walk by 6 Lombardis every day, not 6 rushing titles. If Le'Veon Bell wants that, hey, tough. You are under contract this year. We're not playing you. Ben Roethlisberger, get well, rest up, be 100% by the time we play a game again. And I would even rest Cam Hayward. And to really compound that, let me talk about the injury report today. I think it's going to be telling. This is after Thursday's practice, so we've got 2 days in. Roethlisberger was not a participant at all on Wednesday, and he was a limited participant on Thursday. Le'Veon Bell was limited Thursday. Cam Hayward was limited Thursday, all not injury related. Marquise Pouncey has missed the last 2 days. I doubt he plays with a hip. We know Antonio Brown's out. Those 5 players right there, Antonio Brown, Marquise Pouncey, Roethlisberger, Bell, and Hayward, I don't think they play at all on Sunday because they're that important. I don't think there's any reason to risk these guys getting hurt. Now, my question for you, Lance, is not only do you agree or disagree with my thinking, but do you buy into the rust factor? The factor that if Roethlisberger and all those other guys I just named don't play on Sunday, they would have 2 weeks without a game before they step into the divisional round. Does that bother you? So do you agree, and does rust come into a play for you?
I'll take rest over rust. I'd rather them be rested and healthy and fully ready to go. I mean, that's my perspective. I think, who cares about the rusting? I mean, Julian Edelman for the Patriots got hurt in the last game of the season against Houston. They don't win the Super Bowl. So I'm not a fan of playing it out. I'm not a fan of playing all your guys on the last day like the Patriots do, so much that I'm going to tell you right now, Jeff, on Sunday, I'm not going to be scoreboard watching. I'm going to be cocktail drinking. I'm going to be drinking cocktails. So
there you go.
I will not be around for a Sunday postgame. I will have cocktails in both hands, and the party's on. So, hey, to that point, no, don't play the guys. Don't play them. I mean, even
Okay.
Joe Hayden. I mean,
Yeah,
why even play Hayden? Play Cam Sutton.
I agree.
Let
I
the
agree
rookie get
100%.
snaps. You know, I mean, who cares if the Browns? I don't even care if the Browns win. Doesn't matter. They're
No.
1-15. They're bad. Hugh gets fired. Steelers have done what they're supposed to do. And to Le'Veon Bell about the rushing title, he's broke the bank. He did what he supposed. He did
Yep.
what he bet on himself. He played all 15 games, leading the league in rushing. Has 85, 86, 87 receptions, whatever the number is. He's probably leading the National Football League in scrimmage yards. He just got all his money. So hopefully the Steelers are ready to cut the check
Yeah.
because he's going to have his hand out saying, I told you so. I holla. Cut that check, baby.
He's
So,
done enough. He's done enough for sure.
I mean, hey, so, don't play anybody. I mean, unfortunately, you can't field all second teamers, but, you got to prioritize who your superstars are, and those guys shouldn't play.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And so the Steelers now, who it's interesting, man. I've always been enamored with the Vegas line and the spread and stuff like that. And it comes back to my dad used to have a little sheet from work, and he'd come home, college and NFL, and he would always pick the winners based on the spread, and I'd always ask him about it. Man, this game started off with the Steelers as 14.5 point favorites in Vegas.
Oh,
Started
whoa.
out as 14.5 point favorites, and it's down to 10.5. Why? Because rumors are that they're not going to play their starters. So it's going to be, I've always found that aspect of the game very interesting. It's down to 10.5, 10 in some sports books as I checked this afternoon. So you just don't know what's going to happen. I still think Landry Jones he's had starting reps. He's going to play. If you pay attention, Roethlisberger has not had a starting rep yet this week. Landry Jones is going to start the game probably. And you know what? If he's not playing well, I'd yank him real quick and put Josh Dobbs in. See what you have from the rookie. What the hell, Why not?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, at this point, they just need to be healthy going in.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. I mean, this game doesn't matter. And even if the Patriots lost, I mean, I would just play it the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, if we win and we get the 1 seed, we do. If we don't, we don't. I mean, it's much more important that guys stay healthy. Let me ask you a question, Jeff.
Sure.
Now, we talked about the Jags, right? And off air, tons of texts. You've always said the same thing. I don't worry about the Jags. Bring them on. Blake Bortles.
Yep.
You saw the Jags got rocked in San Francisco, 44-33. I mean, just absolutely rocked. Jimmy G. Hey, man, Jimmy G can play. Yeah. Jimmy G lit them up. San Francisco's found themselves a quarterback. What's that? Does that change anything for you that Jacksonville got lit up? Or, because I want to ask you this question. I'm going to just ask you right now.
Okay.
You don't have much respect for the Jags, primarily because of Blake Bortles.
Yep.
It was a very rare game. No quarterback throws back-to-back pick sixes. That just doesn't happen in the NFL. I've never seen it ever.
Blake Bortles.
Well. The Steelers pretty much handle Kansas City.
Yep.
Steelers have a Patriot problem.
Yep.
Are the Steelers going to the Super Bowl, or do you want to wait? You want to wait? You want to go knee jerk? You want to go knee jerk, or you want to wait, or we want to tease it? We want to tease it.
Let's go till next week. Let's wait till next week
because
then we'll have the actual playoff seeding set. We'll know who's in, who's out. I don't think Tennessee's getting in. So it could be someone like the Chargers. I don't think the Bills are getting in. I think it's going to be the wild card teams are going to be the Ravens and the Chargers. And so it's going to be really interesting. I think next week, because the Steelers aren't going to play, I still definitely want to do a show. We're really going to outline predictions as to who we think will play the Steelers. What do we see the AFC matchups going? I think that'll be important.
So the Ravens would be the 5 seed or the 6 seed?
I believe
we got to wait. We still got to wait till what happens on Sunday.
They win, they're in. I'm pretty sure they get the 5. Something crazy would have to happen. Like they'd have to lose and still get in. But the Chargers, they're the tiebreaker stuff. Pretty much they would be the 5, I think. So it'll be interesting to see who gets in. But we'll do that next Wednesday or Thursday, depending on what's when we feel like it. And then we'll talk about that. let's get your prediction for this week. Let's assume the Steelers rest all their starters that they can. You can't rest every single starter, obviously, but they're resting their guys. What's your prediction for the game?
I'm going to predict that I am going to have copious amounts of brown alcohol on New Year's Eve. Now, did you get that brown alcohol? The
Yeah.
entendre, listeners, the entendre. Did you get it? Brown. See, I don't know if they got it, but I'm going to go ahead and pick the Steelers to win, finish up 13-3, and go into the playoffs locked, stocked, loaded, and ready to roll.
I'm going to say that the Pittsburgh Steelers win with their backups. I think they actually cover too. I think they're going to win. We'll say final score: Pittsburgh Steelers 24, Cleveland Browns 13. They're going to cover the 10.5. And I'm going to go a step further and say they're going to. Man, Cam Hayward's not playing. I want to say they're going to break the sack number for the season. I think it's 55. They would need 5 sacks to tie it for most sacks in franchise history in a year. They're at 50 right now. Will they get the job done? Man, the Browns suck. I'll say yes. I'll say yes. They tie. We'll either go with a push or they get it. You think they get it?
Because I laughed at them, and I'm going to say they finish one short.
Oh, of course you do.
Or a half sack. 54.5.
Yeah, that's right up Lance's alley, folks. If you're just listening for the first time, that's like if I could bottle up Lance's an epitome of him, it's that.
54 and a half.
54 and a half. Okay.
Yep.
Well, the last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here is the Steelers have gone out and they've named, well, the Steelers picked the team MVP. That's a player voted thing. And then the Pro Football Writers of America, they voted on 2 awards that were given out today. The 3 awards, team MVP, we talked about that. That's Antonio Brown. The Joe Green Award, Rookie of the Year, that went to Juju Smith-Schuster. And then the Chief Award, which is the best player with the media, went to David DeCastro. No one cares about the Chief Award because we're not in the media. So what were your thoughts on the MVP, Antonio Brown? It was his 4th time winning. It was the only player in franchise history to ever win the award 4 times. And there's been some studs that have gone through this franchise. And what did you think about TJ Watt not getting it over and Juju Smith-Schuster getting it? Because let's be honest, those are the only 2 players that were options for Rookie of the Year.
Well, first of all, James Harrison should have got the Chief Award.
Yeah, you never talk to the media, so there you go.
He should have got the Chief Award. He should. So he should have got it. I said last week I thought Juju should have got it. I mean, at 20 years of age, 20/21, I mean, what Juju has done has been phenomenal this year. And he capped it off by a dominant performance against Houston. And Antonio Brown is not only the best Steeler, he is arguably a top 3 player in the entire league. He is dominant at the position. I mean, he is transcendent at the position. So I know how important Ben is to the team. And if there's no Ben, there's no win. But Antonio's a dominant player. I mean, he's just an absolute monster. And I'm comfortable with AB getting it again.
Well, let me go on the other side of the coin and kind of argue otherwise. So Juju Smith-Schuster was not necessarily a starter. Okay, he did put up good numbers for a rookie in a position that has some talent, and he certainly stepped up his game. Not debating that whatsoever. TJ Watt was a starter from day one. He's played every single snap. Might not be as gaudy as Smith-Schuster in terms of production, but he doesn't get the opportunity to actually get those types of numbers because he's always dropping into coverage. I probably would have cast my vote for TJ Watt. As great as I've always said it, if you have a debate as to who's your best rookie, that either means your team's awful and you have to play your rookies a lot, or you did really good in the draft and got 2 guys that are participating right away. And I think it's the latter for the Steelers. I would have gone with TJ Watt as my vote, but nonetheless, for Juju Smith-Schuster as well. TJ Watt has been super impressive for me, and he has really kind of encapsulated what the Steelers want to do on defense now. Let's play a little devil's advocate here. This is a unique stat for you here, Lance. I was curious. Ben Roethlisberger has only been named MVP of the Steelers one time in his career, and that was in 2009. I couldn't believe it. I mean, this guy he's won 2 Super Bowls. Early in his career was not that great. I get that. He had his off the field transgressions midway through, but since then
Right.
has been very, very good. I went back and looked since they've been keeping this award in Pittsburgh, which is since 1969. Only 4 years has a quarterback been named most valuable player. Terry Bradshaw in 78 and 79. I'm sorry, 77 and 78. 2001, Cordell Stewart. And then in 2009, Ben
Ouch.
Roethlisberger. This is the only times in Steelers history that a quarterback has been named most valuable player. And the thought in my head that Cordell Stewart has the same amount of MVPs as Ben Roethlisberger, you might as well just say Neil O'Donnell got one, or Bubby Brister, or Mike Tom's. I could go on to Tommy Maddox
Oh my,
or any other.
Jim Miller.
Yes, please, let's bring him up. McMahon and all those guys. So I was kind of surprised by that. I know Roethlisberger had a rough start to the season. I think if he would have played at this high level all the way throughout, it might have been a different story. Antonio Brown is a freak, and he has single-handedly kept them in games and won them games. I'm thinking about Baltimore. I'm thinking about Green Bay. But at the same time, you always have to think when you think about a receiver, someone has to throw him the football. And some of those throws were pretty amazing. So
Think about this though, Jeff. Even in the game that Ben threw 5 picks against Jacksonville, AB still had over 100 yards receiving.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that's how good he's been this year. But to
yeah.
your point about Cordell Stewart, I'll change my vote, man. I want Ben to have it this year. There's no way if Cordell has one, Ben could have one.
Cordell Stewart in 2001, they lost to the AFC Championship game to the New England Patriots that year. That was wasn't that the Spygate year? Wasn't that 2001?
No. That wasn't Spygate year.
Spygate was
That was a year before my daughter was born in 2002. And true story,
okay.
after they lost that game, that's the game where the Patriots scored 14 points on special teams. I think a blocked field goal and a punt return.
Troy Brown returned a punt. Asshole.
True
Sorry.
story. After that game, I got a migraine headache and had to sleep for like the next 10 hours. And take medicine, had to sleep for the next 10 hours, missed work the next day. I just got completely sick, ill, and I slept for like the next 15, 16 hours.
Cordell Stewart went from one of the best gimmick players in NFL history as a running back, receiver, quarterback threat to one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen in my life. It was pretty amazing. He was so fun to watch when he was Slash, and you look back at some of those the footage from the late 90s, and man, what a talent. And then he just wasn't a starting quarterback in the league. So there you have it, folks. I definitely think Antonio Brown is deserving of the MVP award. But it is pretty interesting numbers when you look at the fact that the Steelers haven't had a lot of quarterbacks win it, and Ben Roethlisberger's only won it once. You take from that what you want. Lance, go ahead and send us off here, however you want to do it.
Well, Big Ben, if you're listening to the program, and I know you are, you're a 2-time MVP with us.
Yeah.
I'm going to change my vote. You're a 2-time. I don't ever want you to be mentioned in the same breath as Cordell Stewart, ever.
Yeah, not good.
Mr. Bill Romanowski pointing to his helmet. You idiot. Did you see it? Oh, my goodness.
98.
But from Jeff and I, we want to wish all of you that are listening to a program a happy New Year's. We hope you bring it in safely. I am choosing to bring it in safely with my wife and some couples as we go to Napa and enjoy ourselves. I hope you guys do something fun. Jeff, I hope you do something fun. And, I hope you bring it in safe, just like I hope everyone that's listening to the program brings it in safe. And we appreciate all you guys taking your time out to support our little program and to support BehindTheSteelCurtain.com.
Absolutely. And be safe. As Lance said, don't drink and drive. Please, please, please don't drink and drive. Call an Uber, call a Lyft, call a friend, call a parent. I don't care. Don't drink and drive. That's the last message.
Call James Harrison if you're going from Cincinnati to Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Silverback. He'll pick you up.
Yes. Silverback hurts. He'll get you from Pittsburgh to New England.
I see some commercials in his future with that if he wants to go that route. So there you go. All right, folks. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week for a playoff preview, even though the Steelers won't be playing on
Yes.
the standard as a standard. Bye.